I want to get into a longer conversation in this segment about David Carle, because I said this yesterday. I believe that Jim Montgomery not only was the hire that Jim Nill was looking for when he hired him in 2018, but it's been vindicated by what he's done in the 2 stops since as head coach of Boston and now St. Louis. And I think Jim Nill sees that and goes, that's the guy I want. Now, he can't have him because he had to fire him for other things, not on the ice. So, is David Carle the next Jim Montgomery?
I don't know if he's exactly the next Jim Montgomery, but he is the next NHL coach. He will be an NHL head coach sooner than later, obviously. And then I think he is the guy. Like, he is, if you're looking for that hire, when Jim was talking about in his press conference about, we could go with someone younger, and that's why we have some veterans assistants and everything like that. It felt very much to me like they were setting up the way John Cooper was hired in Tampa. And ironically enough, the same guy was the assistant in both places to help bring that guy on board, and Rick Bowness. Rick Bowness was the coach and was the assistant in Tampa to help John Cooper off the ground. And obviously that relationship didn't go as swimmingly as some did, but early on it was good. And then Bones was here in Dallas with Jim Montgomery to help him get it all figured out as he made the jump from college to the NHL. To me, David Carle is... This team has been, Lud's mentioned, like, why do we worry about the cycles of coaches? These guys have shelf lives, everything like that. Well, every NHL coach seems to have a shelf life right now. They get flipped over and over and over and over again. The Stars are one of the teams that have been stuck in that cycle. Your captain's played for what, 6 coaches now? 6-7 coaches? It's a spot where if you're able to kind of break that cycle, if you're able to bring and hire David Carle, a younger coach, someone who has had success, has won before, unlike some of the other younger coaches we've talked about, and someone who has been able to handle the biggest stages and adjust and make, and when teams throw something new at him, change and everything like that. So for me, David Carle is your dream hire. Now, it's a tough sell because you have to sell David Carle on the Stars. He's someone who here's the interesting thing. A lot of coaches play the game and they go and they push and they have their agent calling to get interviews and everything like that. David Carle doesn't have an agent. David Carle, every interview he's taken so far has been him, NHL teams reaching directly out to him and him taking their calls, and that's it. And so he was with Chicago. He was considered the favorite for the Blackhawks job before he pulled his name out of there and got the extension at Denver. And I know now he said I listened to something with him the other day where he said he sees himself at Denver for the foreseeable future. But that statement was before the Dallas Stars job was open. And for me, if I'm Jim Nill and Tom Ghilardi, I'm on a flight to Denver right now and asking, how does your foreseeable future change if I put a 5-year contract in front of you with multi-million dollars to coach a team that can win Stanley Cups?
They should send me to Denver to go talk to him. I've been there.
You're very well versed in getting to Denver. It's the other places.
I would be worried about that. Would be the one time your flight wouldn't make it to Denver, so.
You know what? I think, Sean, I think you're exactly right. And I think the key that I see with this hire is for any nowadays with NHL players, with how they are, they're a little more, I'm not going to call them soft because I know Luds wants me to, but they're a little different, right? Different handling players than it was 10 years ago and obviously 20 years ago. You need to have a little bit of that communication, which is Neil Graham's specialty, right? Yep. So you need that aspect, but you also need, and I said this on our emergency show Friday, you need to have a little bit of fear of your coach, your head coach specifically, I think. Luds and I were talking about some bad shifts and some bad changes.
I'm glad you enunciated
in the playoffs. And I think that
Thank you, Sean.
You come back and you have a bad change, and you don't have the fear of your coach reaming you for it. It's pretty easy to allow that cycle to come in, those behaviors to come in. So I think the big thing for Dallas is to have communication, and this doesn't have to be the same player. This can be an assistant or same coach. This could be an assistant that's really good at communicating, the head coach that's kind of a hard ass on him. The key with Carle, winning.
That's
all
it,
he has
right
done.
there.
All he has done is won. He brings his teams to the Frozen Four every year. He made Denver the not obviously not all him, but him and Monty pretty much by themselves made Denver the winningest college program in history. They win big games. They no matter what, they're not even ranked during the regular season. They come in, they play the top seed in the first round, they win 3 games, and they get themselves to the final. That winning culture is the extra part I think Dallas needs now on top of the 2 things I said.
And Luds, to me, that's the most important part, because there are plenty of coaches, and Pete DeBoer is one of them, who can win games and have winning seasons. But championship pedigree is a hot commodity. And I think for the Dallas Stars, having a coach that has championships in his belt, doesn't have to be in the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs, but at other stops along the path, to me, that's what you're looking for. That's why you mentioned Quenneville. You're looking for somebody that can get...
Quenneville's an NHL coach.
Right.
This whole college stuff, I get it. And yeah, he's the shiny penny right now. I know that Hack won some championship. Hackstall.
Yep.
I know that Bradbury won some championship. Couldn't coach in the NHL. I look at a guy, and maybe you got to be in the right place at the right time, right? And I get it, the generation, and I'm the first guy to say I like the junior coaches, I mean, nothing against college coaches, because they are dealing with these players. Yeah. They're dealing with this age demographic. They understand what makes them tick. The thing about the college coaches, they're not just there for Friday and Saturday. They have to keep an eye on these guys all week long. Yep. They're in college. I can write a book.
You can attest about this, yes.
But let's talk about Spencer Carberry.
Please.
Okay. Had a great year as a first-year coach, right? Gets this award, and he's the
Jack
dude.
Adams winner, yep.
He's the dude and all this other kind of stuff, and they bow out in the first round. So does that mean that he didn't make some changes? I just think if you get a seasoned guy, and that doesn't mean a 20-year guy, if you had somebody that had some experience in there, which 8 of them might be gone right now. I don't know if there's any of these guys out there. And the only thing about when we talk about Carle, and Sean, I mentioned this to you, and you're the one actually I think told me, but the only thing that I'm not saying David Carle is not going to be here. That's not what I'm saying, or anywhere. Is the line that he said that he used, and it could be because Chicago was not the ideal situation for a whole bunch of different reasons, is he said that there were a lot of the recruits that he helped recruit that were not going to go to that school, and he felt like he was leaving them down. And I believe, and I guess I believe that. I don't even know him. I believe if you make that statement, now to go back on that after a month again, that I think would be hard. It'd be hard for me personally if I said that, knowing that there's this job that's available, maybe in this one or another NHL team, that I guess apparently we think that the Stars are going to win the Stanley Cup next year with the same team. I'm a little different.
That's what
right
you're
now
hearing from Jim.
Okay. Well, I thought we had a really good team this year, but we found the holes. So let's fill a couple of the holes. But anyway, forget all that. That's the only part that I get hung up on is and again, I don't know the guy, but when you make that kind of comment and now you're gonna let him down.
Yeah. It's not just saying like, I like this program, I want to stay here.
Exactly. And it's not I don't know if it's about the money, Sean, all that other kind of stuff. I have no idea. But that's the only thing that I think when you're dealing with college kids and you're in a program like they are there, that means something. That's the only thing for me.
Sean, your response.
He's going to leave at some point. There's going to be a kid. There's at some point
leave a year after you made that comment. Now, don't leave when you just said it a month ago.
Yeah, I know, but at some point he's going to leave, right? He's going to leave at some point. He's going to leave at some point, and there's going to be a recruit in his life that he is going to disappoint. That's the reality.
But he's worried about. He said it about the ones that are coming this year.
You know what? He's never going to coach another college game if he leaves. Like I hate to be brash about it.
He's not making that comment at the end of this year. He can leave next year without making that comment.
Yeah, but he's not getting there's not a better job opportunity that's going to open up next year.
You know the ratio of coaches getting fired, right? You don't think there's going to be 8 available jobs coming up in 4 months from now? Please.
I think there probably will be, but is there going to be one where the team that has 5 sub-28-year-old players signed for the next 5 years or more have gone to 3 Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, and I'll just go back on how did they do again this year.
And that's fine. I'm just my point is I'm not saying the Stars are going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm not even. I'm the guy that picked Edmonton in 4. Let's be clear on this.
True.
The where I'm going with this is there's not a better job that's going to open up. If he's going to leave for a job, he's going to go for, like, if you want to go to a rebuild, if you want to
Sean,
go.
Let me give you the list real quick.
Yeah.
New York Rangers. Right. These are the teams that hired after the season ended. New York Rangers, Anaheim Ducks, Philadelphia Flyers, Vancouver Canucks, Chicago Blackhawks, Seattle Kraken, Pittsburgh Penguins, Boston Bruins. Dallas is in a better situation than all 8 of those teams right now. That's your point, correct?
And there may be a coach next year that's won back-to-back Cups that may be looking for a new spot too.
You think?
I'm just saying.
Like he's done what he needs to do in Florida?
Possibly. I'm not talking about this guy.
Which
I'm
guy?
talking about a different guy.
A different guy that won back-to-back cups. Maybe.
You know, there's 2 coaches there in Florida that have won back-to-back cups.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, but there was conversation about him going to Utah, I believe was the rumor.
Got a year left.
Yeah, one more year to go. He's been there since 2013. Man, 22 or 12 years.
I mean, now, if you had that option, would you take it?
If he was available now?
Or next year?
How could you say? Well,
okay. Let's just say
that'd
this
be
year.
a tough hedge for next year. But if he
I don't
was
know.
available
You're keeping
now,
everybody here anyways. Like we're keeping everybody here.
but that's speculating. You don't know for sure.
Well, I
he's
don't know.
leaving.
That's what apparently was said.
What do you
Right?
mean?
All the coaches are staying here.
Are you talking about Cooper?
He's-
I have no idea what we're talking about here.
Oh, George is back.
I was like,
Yeah.
I thought I was on the right train, but
Get them name tags back out.
clearly I got
Elijah.
off in Newark instead of New York. Penn
You got to
Station.
spin that hat around and give us the New York Yankees hat.
Hartford Whalers.
It's
There
a
we
good.
go,
It's a
George.
better hat.
There
but
we
no.
go. Thank you.
We'll do a segment at another point this summer because we could go through the coaches that we think will be fired next, because there will be next season. There will be
Yeah.
more. I don't think there'll be any other changes this year, but the Stars one may be the biggest surprise because we weren't sure, but there will be others. But I think Sean's absolutely right. I think the opportunity to take the job where the team is in a mode where they can be a contender and are a contender, not a team that's rebuilding,
Yeah.
is a huge
Or
difference.
dealing with
Because
some
and
chaos.
to your point, Sean, Carle or other coaches like that are usually given an opportunity to try to lift a team out of the ashes.
and then
Yeah,
fired.
every what's the saying goes, every man has a price too. So I know there's a moral thought of, hey, these kids committed here or whatever, and I get that, but if you're offered 2-3 times X your salary to go to an NHL team, you get a 5-year deal, that's guaranteed money. Like, it's
Sean, is Carl? I don't know. Does Carl have a specialty power play penalty kill that he has expertise in,
He just wins.
or is
He
he
just-
just
I mean,
That's his
he-
specialty.
He just wins games.
He just wins. I mean, when he was an assistant there, he worked a little bit more with he worked with power play a little bit,
Okay.
but he's done everything with that team.
Yeah,
And that team
I was
is
just I was just curious because I was looking at my list of names that have been brought up around the league, and Graham, Ott, Golitzin, Carl, all power play guys.
Yep.
I was just thinking we were talking about Steve Spott. I just thought that
well,
was interesting.
and that's also people believing Jim at his word that everyone's coming back. To go back to Lud's point,
Yes.
if the best coach is someone, so say it's Gerard Gallant, right? To go to a veteran option, right? Gerard Gallant, who is not a power play guy and really is a Gerard Gallant is actually a very similar. It's like Rick Bowness reskinned slightly differently in just his personality.
Less
He
hair.
puts a lot of not nearly as good hair. He puts a lot on his assistants to run things. And so if Gerard Gallant comes in and all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, like I think everyone keeps thinking it's going to be a power play guy or someone who's been offensive just because, well, that's what Pete and Steve Spott did. And we all assume Steve Spott's going to be gone too. So it must be that. And that's not the case at all. Jim's going to get the best.
Can we
coach,
bring
so-
somebody in that knows a little bit about the other end of the rink?
All right, we got a break here, guys.
Yeah.
Up next, we're going to talk
That's
about
nice.
the Stanley Cup final and some other big news here on the DLS Stars Podcast.